Back in early 2020, I got it in my head that I wanted to buy a traditional double-action 9mm and focus most of my shooting on that gun, instead of bouncing around from platform to platform like I've been doing for most of my time as a firearms owner. A 9mm double-stack autoloader for all the usual reasons: shootability, ammo cost, reliability, ubiquity, and double-action single-action because I appreciate the safety benefits of a double-action trigger and had a lot of time spent on double-action revolvers, so I didn't see much downside in switching away from striker-fired guns. I dabbled with a few: a couple classic P-Series SIGs, a CZ P07, a pair of Smith & Wesson 3913s, but eventually wound up with this pistol here, the Beretta 92X Compact. This is the railed model. Originally it was offered without a rail, but I haven't seen any for sale for a number of years, and this was also purchased before Beretta started offering the 92X series ready to accept a red dot. I touched on the specs in my first impressions video several years ago, but we'll quickly go through it again. The 92 Compact is essentially a standard 92 with a shorter grip and shorter barrel. It's 7 3/4 inches long, 5 1/4 inches high, and 1.5 inches wide. It weighs 27 ounces unloaded. It comes standard with a Vertec grip frame, but includes wraparound grip panels if you prefer the feel of the humped 92 backstrap. This is a G model with a decocker only. The sights are dovetailed, a painted front sight, and serrated, blacked out rear. Standard magazine capacity is 13 rounds, but the powers that be in my state have decreed I can only defend myself with 10. I will add to that, as the question has come up before, I've never had an issue with 10-round Beretta magazines with both compact and full-size mags over years of regular shooting. I can't say the same for other companies who have released band state magazines for their firearms, but hopefully this observation won't apply to you at all. Anyways, it's been almost 4 years lived with this 92X, and during much of that time it was the go-to carry, home defense, and range gun. I was fortunate to be working a job where it didn't much matter what I was carrying, so I usually opted for whatever I shot the best and never really worried too much about printing or ease of carry. And I think Beretta 92s in general are just awesome shooters. Obviously, some of that is just down to the fact that they're pretty heavy, but I pretty much like everything about them, even the double-action trigger. I took quite a few multi-day classes with this particular 92X and just generally abused it over the past few years. I probably did one fairly rudimentary cleaning over the time I was using this heavily. Otherwise, I just kept it lubed up and it's never given me an issue. Berettas are just designed to be reliable and to take a beating. Despite what some folks who were issued M9s in the military may tell you, it's a very robust platform. Accuracy is always tough to focus in on since I don't shoot groups from a bench and am a solidly mediocre pistol shooter. But straight from the factory, the trigger on the 92X is totally usable in both single and double action modes, in my opinion quite a bit better than the SIG and CZ guns in TDA that I had. I was also able to compare the stock trigger in the 92X to an LTT 92 Elite Compact that I purchased more recently, and while the Langdon trigger was better, at first I didn't really think it was that significant of an improvement. After some more time on the Langdon trigger, I got a little spoiled, and I ended up installing the Langdon trigger job in a bag in this 92X. It definitely improves the trigger pull, but it's certainly not necessary. I only mention this to say that the gun in its stock factory form will do just fine. I kept the stock sights. At some point I painted the front sight with fluorescent orange paint because I like having a big bright sight to really draw my crappy eyes in, and that worked well for me. Ergonomically, the 92 series guns really don't make sense for me. I have fairly small hands and short fingers, and 92s are pretty chonky. Something thinner with less of a trigger reach would seem to work better, or so I've been told. I've shot a lot of different guns, and shoot these just as well or better than anything else, and although I love to get in the weeds on every spec and detail known to mankind, this is one of those guns that put a lot of those little gun nerd voices in my head to rest. To me, it's very comfortable to handle and shoot. One of the reasons I was drawn to this model was the addition of the Vertec grip, which was implemented to make the 92 more appealing to people with a wider variety of hand sizes. I kept the gun in this configuration for a while, both with the stock grips, which are excellent by the way, and I also tried a couple sets of lock G10 grips, but surprisingly ended up with the stock wraparound grips. Again, on paper, it may not make sense, but they felt much better in hand to me than the Vertec panels. Beretta nailed the texture on both of the grips that come with the gun, just the right amount of traction without tearing up your skin. Most of the time, I ran the gun without a light, but occasionally during the winter or if the gun was on nightstand duty, I'd keep my TLR1 HL on it. No issues there. For carry, I had a couple JM custom appendix setups and a light bearing outside the waistband holster, my favorite being the Wingclaw 2.5, and combined with a decent belt made for a very comfortable and concealable rig. What am I forgetting? I think that mostly covers it. It's been a great gun for me. Definitely one of those if you could only pick one contenders for a do-everything pistol. Maybe a little bit on the heavy and bulky side for a lot of folks, and even now after several years of packing it around, my eyes start to wander to some lighter and slimmer options. But I'm also 5'8" and 160 pounds, and I have a pretty small frame. I don't really think you can go wrong though, in terms of a carry-friendly, reliable shooter that also just happens to have some serious cool factor happening. I don't care what you say, Berettas are the epitome of cool. Maybe it's just me. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll catch you next time.